Good afternoon. Welcome to my videos on artificial intelligence methodologies. In this third video, I discuss the questions of artificial intelligence and conscious thinking. Let me introduce myself. Sergio Focardi, Professor, University of Genoa, DIME, Department of Engineering, where I teach risk management and financial engineering in the management engineering course. My research activity is focused on causal artificial intelligence, creating and deploying causal models from data. So, what amazes us so much about AI? The latest generation of AI, generative AIs and large language models, LLM, have captured the imagination of so many people that one wonders if AIs will become smarter than humans and if they will develop self-awareness. Why is this? Why do we accept that a battery of computers can drive a rocket up to Mars, but wonder that a computer can prepare research for a student or prepare a marketing plan for a sales manager? Perhaps the main reason is that we are intimately persuaded that daily activities require conscious thoughts, while we have learned to objectify mathematical calculations. It seems impossible to us that a computer can perform those activities that we think are under conscious control. And therefore, we have to answer the questions, is it true that conscious thoughts can be simulated? And if it is simulated, should we conclude that the machine will develop conscious thoughts? To answer these questions, we have to make some preliminary considerations on modern science, because we have to place artificial intelligence, in the framework of modern science. The first is that modern science is completely agnostic about the nature of reality. I mean, from the point of view of modern science, the difference between a hamburger, an airplane, and our brain consists only in the assembly of atoms and molecules, or in any case of the particles that we think are the fundamental components. So it's only structure. What these particles are is not the question that science answers. The Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics expressly says that physics deals only with the relationships between observations. Reality is unknowable. Philosophy has tried to deal with the nature of reality and has given answers such as reality is all matter, or reality is all spirit, or there is both spirit and matter, or reality is made of neutral material that becomes spirit or matter depending on the context. At least until now, these statements are outside the scientific sphere, and it's even questionable whether these are intelligible questions. Now, second point is that science does not explain objective data independent of theory, but creates data that depend on theory. Scientific progress includes the construction of new descriptive frameworks. In an interview with Werner Heisenberg, one of the founders of quantum mechanics, Albert Einstein made this point very clearly. Observations are related to theory. And Thomas Kuhn observed that the scientific paradigm shifts create new theories that are incommensurable with previous ones. So the descriptive framework is completely changed. Modern science includes theoretical terms that acquire meaning within the theory itself. Reality is partly created by the theory. These considerations also apply to economics and social sciences, and even to everyday life, where our relationships with others are influenced by culture. The third consideration is that we have no knowledge of the real functioning of the brain and the mind. We have, or believe we have, some general knowledge about the working of the mind. Psychologists use terms such as motivation, fear, satisfaction, and so on, and construct theories of feelings and thoughts. However, there is a lack of real understanding of self-awareness, of what a conscious thought is. We all experience self-awareness, pleasure and pain. I am a self-consciousness that feels pleasure and pain. My thoughts and emotions are mine and are not shared with anyone. Self-awareness gives me a fundamental uniqueness. But it's hard to really believe that I am a unique thing. in all the infinity of space and time. It makes no sense. The explanation, if it exists, must be different. And we have no explanation for the moment. And no one really knows how the mental contents are related to the physical object how related to the physical object form the reality and especially the brain. Today, experiences are not a shareable empirical datum, and it's not known how they are created. Our ignorance of the nature of physical reality and of the relationship between physical reality and mental content should lead us to extreme caution in making statements about all that is intelligence and intelligence behavior. The question we must ask ourselves is this: are there cognitive activities that require conscious thought, or can all cognitive activities be traced back to symbolic manipulation? In the previous two videos, I showed that all forms of artificial intelligence known to date are symbolic manipulation. Even what seems to be like creative activities, such as problem solving, are tackled by creating random scenarios and looking for the optimal solution. And the representation of knowledge can be formalized with logical structure. I mean, have we crossed this line with generative AI and LLMs? Have we really found something fundamentally new? Probably not. It has been suggested that LLMs, the large language models, are such complex systems that they exhibit emerging properties. Recall that the emerging properties of a complex systems are properties that cannot be logically inferred from the properties of the system's component. In the case of LLMs and generative AI, this means that they produce text or images that cannot be logically inferred from the components of the LLM system, so kind of real system thinking. In practice, this is true. LLMs are based on transformer neural networks architectures that include billions of randomly generated processes, parameters, and it's virtually impossible to follow the operation of these structures. I mean, emergent properties are intrinsic to LLMs. LLM can produce innovation, for example, discover solutions using random parameter generation. I mean, it does not escape the general methods of artificial intelligence, that innovation is basically random generation of possible solutions and optimization. It is in general for this mechanism used by AI, but emerging properties are not per se conscious thinking. Now, neglecting the problem of computational explosion, an AI can receive a question in the form of a symbolic sequence, consult a knowledge base made up of billions of symbolic relationships, eventually included in neural networks, manipulate them, and create an answer in the form of a text that includes complex symbols that can represent important discoveries. So we could imagine eventually a machine that creates questions to explore every field of knowledge. But how does the machine alone know which of its answers is an important discovery? The machine needs the interpretation provided by human. That's a critical point. Machines are logical manipulators. They don't have contact with the reality. Man has created his reality through sensory experiences, the accumulation of knowledge due to language, perhaps innate elements created by evolution. For now, AI is a tool for the production of symbols to which man attributes meanings and uses to control for the environment. AI does not create meaning in the human conscious sense. AI can tackle only logical systems between meanings and objects, logical relationships between meanings and objects. Now, is it conceivable that AI will acquire self-awareness? This is a widely debated question. Answering this question is currently impossible because we do not know how conscious processes are generated. I mean, we cannot really, it's useless that we ask, I mean, it's a question beyond our capabilities. Many think that complexity can generate self-awareness, i.e. that consciousness is an emergent property of complexity. But this idea does not have much force in itself, because complexity is, at least in principle, repeatable. I can imagine two complex systems that are identical, while self-consciousness is unique and unrepeatable. Imagine that I build such a complex system that can generate self-awareness. What self-consciousness does it generate? Complexity applies to an arbitrary number of individuals, with self-consciousness is unique. Millions of new self-consciousness are generated every day. What distinguishes them? After my death, should I fear that one of these self-consciousness is me again? Thinking that AIs can generate self-consciousness due to its complexity has no force, because we have no idea how it's generated and the uniqueness of what the uniqueness of self-consciousness means. But then we came to a different approach. The brain is a terrestrial object made by terrestrial materials. Can we manufacture a brain-like object? I mean, the above sentence is due to von Neumann. The brain is an object ultimately produced by terrestrial production process, i.e. human sexual reproduction. There are terrestrial objects with self-consciousness, the brains. Other animals and living things are sentient beings in forms probably different from human self-consciousness. But the key question is, can we manufacture objects with self-consciousness? The ethical implications are appalling. I don't want to discuss them, just theoretical discussion. I mean, the idea of producing self-consciousness, manufacture self-consciousness is really very, let's say, disturbing. This question goes beyond the question if AI machines can develop conscious thinking. Because AI machines are logical structures, here we are talking about something more fundamental. As we observed in a previous slide, with the current level of science and philosophy, we can consider unlikely that producing a structure, a macroscopic structure, will produce a conscious being. The main objection is the uniqueness of consciousness. A structure of neuron is in principle repeatable, while consciousness is unique. But the broader question is, can we manufacture consciousness at a finer level, perhaps at the level of quantum mechanics? Nobody knows. We do not know. We do not have sufficient knowledge of thought process. We do not even know if it's doable. To conclude, in this video I try to give an intuitive idea of AI. AIs are mechanical symbols manipulation systems. The manipulation of purely logical system is a very old problem, addressed in mathematical terms by mathematical logic. AIs have added semantic representations, learning, and synthetic discovery methods, essentially based on random scenario. When we move to the real world, AIs manipulate symbols that have an interpretation. Interpretation can be provided by human beings or learned from other symbolic systems, but ultimately, AI cannot produce meanings in the human sense. AI is relative to meanings produced by humans. The future of AI depends on the use that man wants to make of it and the realities they want to build. I mean, on the science fiction level, one can imagine that AI builds a reality through sensors and describe reality by associating representation with sensors. I mean, useless to speculate. It's purely a fanciful hypothesis. Well, I hope you enjoyed these short videos, and thank you for your attention.